Welcome to Gamer Philosophy. Today we're going to be doing a tier list on Tier Maker to talk about who is the most evil faction in Warhammer Fantasy based on Total War Warhammer 3. I have over 800 hours playing on easy, so I am a bit of an expert here. And anything else I've just learned through osmosis. I haven't read any of the books, any of that jazz. I'm not talking about 40k. So we're going off of vibes and a philosophy degree. So that's really all you need in life, right? And just to preface this, a few rules. First off, this isn't very serious, as I hope you can tell. Second off, I am going to be talking about the races in general, not any specific group within those races. So, like, I'm not going to be talking about Elithanar. I'm not going to be talking about Nagash or, any specific character that's doing something that's outside the norm. I want you to think, what would a Skaven do 9 times out of 10, right? That's kind of what the broad strokes we're talking here. So even though these are faction-specific banners, I'm not talking specific. I guess I did say factions, but I'm talking races in general. So as far as the tiers go, since this is grimdark fantasy and good doesn't exist, our tiers are starting at the very top, evil, which is just outright evil. You have kinda evil, which, self-explanatory. Neutral, they're not really good or bad. Not very good, which is a little better than neutral. Close enough, meaning close enough to good. And amoral, which they can't be moral. They don't have the capacity for morality, which is an interesting thing because really this was what I would designate like animals as. Think of a tiger, right? A tiger is able to ambush you. It has really complex behaviors, but you wouldn't really say a tiger is evil. A tiger is just a tiger, right? So that's what that category is all for. So I've ordered these based on a broad grouping of chaos and order tide. So let's get into it. Very first off, we have the Chaos Pantheon. Starting with Nurgle, I really want to say, based on the Beast of Nurgle character description, that they're good. The Nurgle's the god of love, but because they are manifestations of evil and they can't do any different but be evil, I'm going to put Nurgle in amoral. And the same with Khorne, same with Slaanesh, same with Tzeentch. The reason being is that these are manifestations of chaos. They are not able to be good or evil, they just are. They're a force of nature. When it's a force of nature, it can't do otherwise. That's the basis for morality, is that given a choice, you could either do good or do bad. But like, Slaanesh is just gonna goon. There's nothing that's gonna happen outside of that. So it's a force of nature. So that whole category goes there. But the Chaos Simps is where it gets kind of interesting. So we have the Beastmen. I'm gonna put the Beastmen as, I'm gonna say, kind of evil, just because the beast in them, I think that lowers their intellect a smidge, even though they are able to go out and like do stuff. Again, think of like the tiger example I gave, where Khazrak, not Khazrak the Befouled, Khazrak the One-Eyed, he's really good at ambushing, but so are tigers. So like there is intelligence there. But I think the man part of Beastman gives them the ability to be moral. They follow chaos, but they're not like, I don't think they're the worst of the worst. So I'm going to put them in kind of evil. They're kind of just doing what they do. The Norska, however, I'm excluding Throg because they're just a bunch of trolls. They don't have anything going on up there. But like Wulfric the Wanderer and all of the other Norska, they are evil. They are the recruits for the Chaos Warriors of any of the Chaos deities. They just, almost are the worst. But I guess that's what happens when you live in the cold. I don't know. They're just worse versions of Vikings. Now we're going on into Daniel the Demon Prince. And Daniel the Demon Prince, I'm going to put him as amoral for the same reason I put all the other chaos people in amoral. Also, Daniel the Demon Prince just kind of doesn't count because he's just headcanon for CA, but whatever. Chaos Warriors. These are people like Archaon the Everchosen, Kolek Suneater, Tamarkon. All of the best legendary lords are in the Chaos Warrior faction, and they are hella evil. Archaon the Everchosen is literally just the worst of the worst. So I'm gonna put them in front of Norska, leftmost being the most evil. So, no surprises here. And the same for the Chaos Dwarves. Chaos Dwarves are corrupted dwarves. Dwarves are, I don't know, spoiler alert, I think they're pretty good. And just as good as the dwarves are, the flavor text for the race selection menu says, as good as the dwarves are, Chaos Dwarves are that evil. I mean, they are enslaving other races. They're not amazing, right? Given the opportunity, they will do you bad. So they're going into evil. Now, the orcs. The orcs are sentient mushrooms, and loosely sentient. They are just out looking for a good time. They are fulfilling the measure of their existence by going out and fighting wars. So, can they do any different? I don't think so. Therefore, orcs are going in the amoral camp. There's quite a lot of people in the amoral camp, but Gorkamork be praised, they just don't have anything going on. They are fighty mushroom green boys, just going out looking for the next big fight. So, can't fault them for that. They're just doing what they're going to do. Now we're getting into the vampires. Vampires, I'm going to put them as kind of evil. That makes me feel better. Be in front of the beastmen. Okay. Vampires are they're just trying to live forever, right? They kill a bunch of people, but who doesn't? This is the grimdark fantasy world. I don't think they're as evil as the Chaos Aligned, or the Chaos Simps, as I'll call them. They have a chair in the Elector Counts, so and at the end times, spoiler alert, they do come and side with the Order factions, you would say. Besides Manfred's the worst, but there's something in there. They're not the worst. They're not great, but I put them at kind of evil. And then for the vampire counts, or sorry, the Vampire Coast, these guys, same sort of thing. They're evil. They're the undead. I'd actually put them lower than the Beastmen. They're just looking to pillage and plunder. Luther's crazy, so he gets a free pass. But, I think as a whole, they're the undead. That's not great. Kind of speaks for itself. But speaking of the undead, now we move on to the Tomb Kings. Now, the Tomb Kings were the heart of civilization. They were working on trying to figure out eternal life with their mortuary cults, and they were just like the best humans until Nagash screwed them over. So, it turned them into Skelly Boys. As far as Skelly Boys go, I wouldn't call them outright evil. They're just really pissed off that they don't have a body anymore. But they still are in like the Order tide, excluding Archaon the Black. But the Tomb Kings, they're not good. They're not bad. They're going to be my first neutral race because you don't really know what they're going to do, but they're not just going to be dicks just for the for the giggles, right? And now we move on to the ogre tribes. Ogres, they're just, they eat, they pillage, they raid, they do a lot of stuff, but it's to the highest bidder. They don't really have a moral code. They're just looking for their next meal and payday. And because of that, I'm going to put them in the neutral category as well. They were created by the old ones to fight chaos, but they were incomplete creations. So, yeah, they're doing the best with what they have, maybe. They really go after a good time, a good payday, and a good meal. It doesn't matter who's feeding it to them or who they're eating, for that matter. All right, now into the more good side of the scale, I would say. We have the Bretonnians, which are amoral because they are subhuman trash. Next, we have the dwarves. The dwarves are very interesting, and the more I've been playing the dwarves, the more I've been thinking about it. I was thinking long and hard about, is there anybody that could be classified as good? Given my earlier disclaimer that no one is good because this is grimdark fantasy, I would put the dwarves as close enough. And the big connection that I'm pulling here is that the dwarves, with their Book of Grudges, they have a moral code, a very rigid moral system that they live by. Humans may not understand that system, but they have a Book of Grudges, and they will go out and they will rectify those grudges. And in this sense, they are kind of a bastardization of deontology. Deontology is the moral system which, in a sentence, these are the people who always put their shopping carts back into the shopping cart return areas, because that is the right thing to do. You want to live in a society where people do what you would want to do. It's the golden rule on steroids, as I've said, and it was founded by Immanuel Kant, where there are rules and you keep to the rules because they are the rules. And you want to live in a society where everybody follows the rules. So the dwarves are deontologists, in my opinion, and I think that puts them, and they live really good, they live up to their expectations of their deontological background or their deontological foundation. Now my tier list is stretching too far down. Oh well, now we're going on to the humans that we can't really see, but the humans, the Empire, Sigmar be praised, Karl Franz, the goat. I'd put the humans at not very good. They aren't the worst. They still are we sympathize with them because they look like us. But like the Inquisition, or I guess the witch hunters, the Proto-Inquisition exists. Balthazar Gelt, although he is supreme, he's turning people into gold. Villages are disappearing. But who wouldn't do a lot of these extreme things? Because you've got manifestations of demons, beastmen, mushrooms on roids. You've got so many things on your doorstep that would kill you if they sneak in. So you have to have a really tight rein on that. So I guess I get that, but I think I'd much rather live as a dwarf than as a human in Warhammer Fantasy, just because I think I'd get treated a little better as a dwarf. Might be my ignorance speaking, but that's that. Now we're going on to Cathay. Cathay, the stalwart bastions against chaos with their great wall of anti-chaos. The Cathayans, I would put them as close enough to. I think the dwarves are a little bit better. The Cathayans, they're a little bland in my opinion. They do foster trade with other people. I think if I were to run across a Cathayan, they wouldn't behead me on sight necessarily. I think my chances are a lot better with Cathay than with the Empire. Not much more to say about that. And in a similar grouping, just the Russians version of Cathay is Kislev. So Kislev, I put them at close enough to being good as well, because they are the front line against chaos. Archaon the Everchosen, I'm remembering Total War 2, or Total Warhammer 2, and it's just the worst because Archaon's just coming down every 5 turns, it seems. But Kislev is there, and even the tutorial campaign that was made, it makes them out to be the good guys. They're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to find Urson and, all that jazz. They just get tricked. Who knows? But Norska, or not, sorry, not Norska, Kislev, I think they are pretty close to being good, about the same as Cathay. And now we're on to the Lizardmen. Lizardmen, they are the oldest race. They are chaos-devouring lizards riding dinosaurs. So, pretty awesome. I don't know if they're good. I am, or not good, but close enough to being good. I've been toying with putting them into the amoral camp, but they're not amoral. They just do things that we don't understand, but they're not going to go out of their way to help other races. They are only here to do their great plan, enact their great plan that no one knows about. I'd throw them into the neutral category. They're definitely not evil because they're here to fight chaos, right? Like, it's kind of in their DNA. But they're not helping anybody else along the way besides themselves. And I guess in a similar vein, we have the Wood Elves. The Wood Elves, I'd put them as neutral really easily because they just want to sit in their trees and hang out, you know? They're not going to actively decide to go out and start a campaign of conquest and bloodshed. They just want to protect the trees, this fern gully. Just don't mess with the trees, man. It'll be fine. If you're not in a forest, you don't have to worry about Wood Elves. Versus Beastmen or, you know, Chaos Warriors, you're hosed. But, like, if you don't mess with them, they're not going to mess with you. I wouldn't call them good, but they're not evil. I put them right in the middle. Now we have the Knife Ears, the true elves, I guess you would call them. These guys, I would say that they're good. I don't want to be an elf simp, so I'm going to put them below the dwarves. But elves are probably, I mean, they have hearts on their helmets. How bad can they be, right? Like, come on. They live in Atlantis. It's fine. But coming out of the elves, we have the Dark Elves. Now, the Dark Elves, they are a different race because, like, Malekith was an elf who decided to jump into the fire of Anarion or whatever it's called, and he just got burnt to hell and became Darth Vader. So, and then he just took his Dami Mommy with him and ran up north to hide and be just upset about it for eternity. The kicker, though, is that, you know, they engage in slavery, they do all of this terrible stuff, and they are the literal creators of a demon chaos god. They are the most evil faction in my mind, not because of Marathi and Malekith shenanigans, mommy-son shenanigans. This is your Oedipus Rex, but in Warhammer Fantasy, but both parties consent to it. But the depravity and evil, and just if they would just stop being such gooners, Slaanesh wouldn't exist. You would only have Nurgle, Khorne, and Tzeentch. So because of the Dark Elves, they created a chaos god. They're the worst, by and large. I mean, Archaon the Everchosen wasn't so angry that he made a chaos god, but the Dark Elves are directly responsible for the creation of a chaos god. And not only that, but the eternal damnation of not just Dark Elves, but regular elves too, into the 40k universe. Like, when they die, their souls go straight to Slaanesh. So if it weren't for all of the convoluted shenanigans that, like, the ghost wraiths and stuff do, they wouldn't stand a chance. Like, if the Dark Elves had, if it weren't for the High Elves, all of the elves would have been host. So as good as the High Elves are, the Dark Elves are just orders of magnitude worse. They created a god because of how bad they were. So, and the Skaven. So the Skaven, they are rat bastards. They blew up the moon. They are in it for themselves only. As far as good or evil goes, I don't think they're as bad as the Wood Elves, but man, they are just bastards for the sake of being bastards. So I guess kind of like the orcs, you know, a rat's gonna be a rat, Skaven's gonna Skaven, but man, these are some conniving SOBs, and they revel in backstabbing, betraying, and just being rat bastards. Well, this is my tier list. This was fun just to think about. Let me know in the comments what I should have changed, whether you disagree with me, you know, all that fun stuff. I think it's fun how this actually shook out. At the end of the day, Dark Elves are the worst, Dwarves are the best, and thank you for watching and making it this far. Like and subscribe, all that jazz. I love you.